We're going to talk about how to innovate in your game development and some awesome things you can do to make better games coming up. What's going on, guys? My name is Tim Ruswick, and today we're talking about innovation. And innovation is one of my favorite subjects because it's a word that's misunderstood a lot, but it's also a word that means a lot in the tech and game development communities. We all like to create unique things. We all like to create something that no one's ever seen before, right? And indie games in particular have this vibe about them that they're young, they're cool, they're unique, they're awesome, they're new, unlike some of these other traditional games where a new Call of Duty comes out every year, but it's kind of the same formula, right? But indie games come out every year, and shit, they could be anything. We're not even sure like where they're going or what they're doing. So innovation, I think, is really cool, and I think it's needed in game development. But I think the mistake a lot of people make is that they think they have to make something completely unique. I remember an old friend of mine, we were talking about game ideas one day for what game we were going to make, and we came up with this really cool idea for a game that we're working on called Echo One. And I said something like, okay, we're going to call the main guy Rookie, and he's going to go down to like this base, and we're going to do stuff. And he was like, dude, that's the plot to Halo ODST. And I was like, so? Like, I don't give a shit what Halo ODST did. Like, I want to make this game. And we had a big argument about the fact that someone had already done the basic concept of what we wanted to do. And I didn't care. But I found that a lot of people do care. They don't want to make something like someone else. And so what I would say to that first, before we even get into the innovation aspect, is that there are no unique ideas under the sun, right? Everybody has been inspired by everybody else. And especially with the internet, everybody has access to everyone else's concepts and ideas. And holding these ideas like they are some magical formula rather than just taking from everywhere on the planet and smashing shit together is a bad approach, because you can get inspiration from so many places. You can get ideas from so many places. So trying to be unique and trying to create something from scratch that's never been done before, I think, is the wrong approach. It's the wrong starting point. So I think, you know, there's nothing wrong with stealing concepts from different places or being inspired by concepts, or you like this concept from there, you like this other concept and put them together, and, you know, like, I think that's the way that things are born. In the startup world, we hear a lot, like, people say something like Uber for cats or Uber for lawn care or something like that. Taking two concepts and melding them together is a great way to be innovative. So that leads us to number one. That's one of the key principles of innovation, is rather than try and come up with something unique, you take two things and you smash them together. Then you got innovation, right? I think that's a much better approach for a lot of reasons. One, because I think it gives your brain a starting point, right? Like, when you're trying to be creative and you're trying to create something, your brain has no parameters. And I talk about this in the Embrace Constraints video, but like, you can go anywhere to infinity with concepts. So by constraining it a little bit and saying, hey, I want to make a mix of this game and this game. I want to make, like Destiny is a perfect example of an MMO FPS. Like, let's take these two concepts, smash them together, see what we get. And I think that's a better way to innovate. It's a better way to try things, especially, and at least it's a good starting point, right? Like, once you get that core thing down, you can always iterate beyond that or innovate beyond that or whatever, and get new things out there. But combining two things you love, I think, is one of the key ways that you can innovate and really make something unique. And it doesn't have to be unique. It doesn't have to be completely new. Everybody is inspired by everybody else. So don't think that any one of these other people has some crazy unique brain that you don't have, and they have access to these ideas that you can never do. It was inspired from somewhere. It was a concept from somewhere. It was a piece of something from somewhere. Everybody gets inspired by everybody else. So that's the first thing I would say on how to innovate, is just take two things you love and smash them together and see what you come up with. Second thing I would say is you got to randomize your inputs. And that's probably like a programmer term, right? But like, In programming, when you generate a random number, that random number has to have a seed. But if you give it the same seed, then you'll get the same random number every time you generate a random number, and it'll be in the same order. And a lot of people do this with their lives. They go through the same routines. They do all the same things. And then they try and sit down and create something new and different. And the problem with that is your creativity, your innovation comes from the things that you've experienced, the things that you've taken in your mind from your senses, your sights, your sounds, all these different things that you've experienced. Your brain has access to all that stuff, and then you're creating something new based on combining all these little things in your head. If you have the same inputs all the time, sometimes it can be really difficult to create something new or think of something new. So randomizing what you intake is a really good way to kind of get inspired. For me, I love to travel. I love to go places. I love to try new things, go to new restaurants I've never been to, try out the food, go to different places that I've never been to. And it's scary at first. Like, it took me a long time to get that. Like, I used to hate going places that I wasn't comfortable with. And I'm not always in the mood to just experience something random. Sometimes I want the same shit that I know and love, which is why a lot of people end up playing the same games over for a long period of time, because they want the same experience. They don't want to think. But experiencing these different things is really good for creativity, because it doesn't allow your mind to be like passive, right? When you eat the same things you're used to eating, or you play the same game that you've always been playing for the last year, your mind can kind of go passive. It can kind of shut down and not really create. It just kind of goes in the motions. But when it's like driving to work, right? Like, if you have to drive to work every day, sometimes you can just end up at work and not even realize you went through that whole journey. Like, you can not remember the drive there, but you can be at work. But if you have to drive somewhere you've never been before, you have to pay attention. You have to look at street signs. You have to follow the GPS. You have to do something. So your brain is a lot more active in the process. And the same thing happens when you're out and about. So if you're really trying to innovate, you're trying to create something that you never created before, create something unique, create something cool that you want to just kind of create this new thing, one of the best ways to do that is to experience new things. Go and play a genre of game you never played before. Go to a game jam. Go to like a physical in-person game jam where you're around all these people, where you experience all this stuff. Go to GDC. Like, just experience cool shit around you, and it helps with your creativity. I talked in the other video about, I'll link it up, I forget which video it was now, but about how you should change your environment. And this is kind of the same thing. You need to change your environment sometimes to change the things that output, right? You change your inputs, you can change your output. And for me, this has really helped out a lot. So if you really want to innovate in games, you try those two things. Take two things that you like and smash them together. That's a great way to innovate. And then two, I would say randomize the things that you take in. Take in new experiences and just be around new people and new environments. And those two things, I really think you can't go wrong. It's a really great way to be a little more creative, a little more innovative in the things that you do. And don't be ashamed of taking concepts from places. Everybody takes concepts from everywhere. There's no shame in like saying, okay, I like the first mission of Halo, let's do something like that. Or I like this whole concept of a werewolf fucking chess piece, let's do that. Whatever the fuck it is, just like take from everywhere. Like, use it as inspiration to create something that you really love. If you've got 5 favorite games, what happens if you took a concept from each one of them and just kind of smash it together? So that's all I have to say. I would love to see some crazy, innovative indie games from you guys based on some of these concepts, because that's why one of the reasons I love indie games is because they're so fresh and cool like that. But that's all I got for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Please leave me a comment below on what you think. Once again, I'm Tim Ruswick, and I'll see you guys next time.